गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री Gurave Namaha. Repeat after me. Om Sahana Vavatu. Om Sahana Vavatu. Om Sahana Vavatu. Om Sahana Vavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै सह वीर्यं करवावहै सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनाव 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 धीतमस्तु 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 मा विद्विषावहै मा विद्विषावहै मा विद्विषावहै Vishavahay. Together. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That was the invocation mantra. And now we are on the verse where it says, here. यद्वाचानभ्युदितं येन वागभ्युद्यते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते. Here the teacher says, qualifying what was said before, that the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind, the speech of the speech, and so on. Here he says, what speech cannot reveal, but what reveals the speech. Now it's the other way around, he's saying. Meaning, the one because of whom the speech is able to happen, the one because of whom the seeing is able to happen, the one because of whom the hearing, the feeling, the touching, all these that are able to happen, know that alone as Brahman and not this that people worship here and there. So, Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi, Tad Eva. Tad, remember Tattvamasi? Tad. We did Tattva Viveka. That. Tad means that. So that Eva is a very beautiful word in our Sanskrit language. There is nothing too comparable as Eva is. Brahma Eva Satyam. Brahma Eva Satyam. Ekam eva na advitiyam. That means there is not one, there is only one without a second. Again eva there. So what is this eva? Eva means alone. Yeah. So here when he says tad eva brahma tvam vidhi, we'll just look at this. Very beautiful. This will be repeated many times now. So what does it mean? Know that alone as Brahman. Know what? as Brahman. The one because of which the speech is able to happen. What is that if taken out, speech cannot express as speech? What is that if taken out of the equation, the eyes or the seeing is not able to happen through the eyes? I can show you people who can stop prana and they can still see.
Brahman.
Oh, Brahman, okay. Yes, Brahman, the self. So know that alone to be the reality. And when it says, Nedam yadidum upasate, na idam yadidam upasate, meaning not any other concept that you have in your life and are thinking that to be that divine principle. What is that? See, the teacher, when he says that this alone is the truth, then he has to say what else the people are believing that in the negative manner. So first he, reiterates the truth, and then he removes also the other obstacles after which, or other ideas after which the mankind runs after, calling them gods. So here there is no place for Jesus, Buddha, Rama, Krishna, Devi. There is no place for God at all. The only God is only one. And that is the conscious principle because of which the hearing is able to happen, the speech is able to happen, the seeing is able to happen. I'm having horripilations while speaking. Who or which scripture is able to declare so blatantly, without fear, what others are going to say? Drop all the gods. There is no place for them. They are only figments of imaginations of your mind from the point of view of the absolute truth. And that absolute truth, there is no place for that absolute truth is not a field of experience for the senses, a field of experience for the mind, a field of experience for the intellect. It is these three faculties, the five senses, mind and the intellect, they have got no idea. They may talk about Brahman, they may talk about Ekameva Dvitiya, they may talk about the divine principle, but they have got not even an iota of idea what that reality is. And in order to find that reality, they keep superimposing that reality on, as our Hindu scriptures say, Matru Devo Bhava, the mother is God, the father is God, the guru is God, the guest is God. And we don't stop there. Then we have created 33,000 more gods. In relativity, you can keep creating as many number of gods as you want. 33,000 doesn't mean that you stop there. Mind is a fertile, where imagination is rampant. Only one. And that is the one yad vachana abhyuditam yena vag abhyudyate, that which the speech cannot reveal, but that which because of which the speech is able to happen. That is the reality. What is this alone? That, see, the senses, mind and intellect, they work within the conditionings. Where there is conditioning, these faculties can function. What is the conditioning of past, present, future? What is the conditioning? Birth and death. What is the conditioning? Likes and dislikes. What is the conditioning? Body, breath, mind, intellect. What is the conditioning? Time, space and objectivity. Within these parameters, the five senses, mind and intellect, they can function. But when given an idea that you have to go beyond yourself, find out what is your source because of which you are able to function, nothing. They become like nincompoofs. They are unable to put forth any effort, because whatever effort they have put, they have come to a naught. They cannot find out, where is this? Who is illuminating me? They can't find it out. What is that principle because of which I am? They cannot find it out. A child can never even imagine how he was born. We can see the videos, we can see the pictures, we can read the books, but the child can never recreate the experience of his or her birth. Impossible. Because it's in the past, it's gone, it's dead. You can never bring it back. Same thing here. The faculties, they work only within the conditionings, and they can never illuminate the truth. Know that alone is Brahman, and this way absolute truth is that which is not associated with any conditioning. In Panchadashi, a beautiful example comes. I can't remember which chapter it was. If you remember, remind me. Where the example of space was taken. There is total space outside and there is space inside this, within these walls. The quality of space inside and the quality of space is outside is exactly the same. If this is so, then why do you call this a room space or a meditation room? Why? Because our attention is on the conditionings. That is why. The quality inside and outside of the space is same. See? Same way, the conscious principle also. It is the same which is expressing through all the conditionings. Now the same, once we understand this space which is in this room is the same space which is in the toilet also, which is also in the bathroom, which is also in our bedrooms, which is also in our house back in Melbourne. Once this is understood that space is a principle which has got no boundaries, but because our attention is on the conditionings, we start calling it by different names. Exactly the same principle you apply to this absolute consciousness also, absolute truth also. Absolute consciousness is infinite in nature. Just because it seems to be expressing through one conditioning, and our attention is not on the consciousness, it is on the conditioning. So we call him Robert, just like room space. So the Robert space. This is Lalita space. This is Teresa space. This is Joy space. And what is the space? That space is covered within these contours of the body, isn't it?
And through the body.
Yes, in and through the body, yes. Through the body, what do you mean by through the body here?
Well, with space as well. I mean, we're not solid, are we?
No, the wall is also not solid. So take that example exactly. We understand that atom is 99.9% space. We understand that. But just take the example that our attention is on the conditionings, and once you understood that space is an infinite principle, we don't deny that. We may use the different names of different spaces, room space, toilet space, because it is helpful to us to differentiate. We go to the toilet and start meditating. Let's have a toilet meditation session. Foolish. He suggested, let's have an open air satsang. Open space satsang. So same way, this conscious principle, when your attention, because your senses can function only through the conditionings, they cannot function in the infinite, they cannot function beyond the parameters, they need parameters to function, to cognize. Cognition is only of the name and form. And what is expressing through the name and form, every name and form, is that absolute principle. And that is the reality. Put your attention, accept that. It's a question of only accepting. Instead of being insistent that you are separate to me, she is separate, one consciousness here, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. We don't say that about space. We understand space is the same, isn't it? We also understand the water is same behind all the waves. We may use the word, see now this wave number 1, wave number 2, wave number 3. We may call the waters Arabian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, but it's all sea. It's all salt water. We have given those different names so that we don't keep going around in one place. So we know, okay, between Australia and Africa is Indian Ocean, between Africa and South America is what ocean? Atlantic Ocean. Between South America and Australia is Pacific Ocean. And then we can move around, we can maneuver ourselves because it's helpful to us in the relativity, in the relative realm. But understand that this conscious principle, which is functioning in and through every conditioning, is the reality. And that alone is Brahman. That alone is Brahman. What is the conditioning here? In the previous verses we have seen the speech is a conditioning, the sight is a conditioning, because eyes, and through the eyes sight, ears, through the ears hearing, tongue, through the tongue taste, nose, through the nose smell. These are all conditionings. The senses are conditionings. Who is functioning through those conditionings as those abilities of seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, thinking, conceptualizing? Is that infinite absolute principle. And that is Brahman. And that you are. Verse number 4, 5, 6, 7, they talk about the Tattvamasi Mahavakya. And in this manner, by stating that that alone is Brahman, Shruti is not falling into an abrupt silence. Had she done so, a doubt would have risen in the mind of her children. What about these that we see? What about Rama, Krishna, Shiva, and various gods? By plain and open denial, she sweeps clean all possible doubts. When she says, na idam yad idam upasate, meaning not this that you worship. I won't say, if you go after any gods, you will only go to an abode of the god, and that is also in the relative realm. Heaven is not an absolute idea. According to our scriptures, when you go to heaven, after you have lived your good merits in heaven, why? Because we attended some satsang here. Oh, how many days we were here? 2.5 days for. So 2.5 days heaven. Oh, you gave charity. Okay, for that also say another 3 days for charity. And the days are longer in heaven. They are not as short as here. Then you helped someone crossing the road. Okay, another 5 days. But after that, after those 10 days in heaven, what next? Drop back. Drop back. Then what do? Then back to the earth plane. Back to the earth plane. Because who goes to the heaven? A person who has Vitteshna, Lokeshna and Putreshna. There are 3 Eshanas, 3 desires inherent in all the foolish beings. Why I'm purposely using that word. What is that? Vitteshna, a desire to possess wealth. And you watch, only in these three categories people will fall. Nobody wants realiteshna. So the first is Vitteshna. Vitteshna is people are running after money, not knowing where, but running after money. Second, Vitteshna, Lokeshna. They are running after possessing things in life, name and fame. And third, Putreshna, that if I go away and I die, my name must continue, so produce a child. They want to leave some mark behind on this creation. And the biggest joke of this creation is that people keep running after that which can never be caught. And that which is always yours, that they are not ready to accept. That which is closest to you, the conscious principle, that they are not ready to accept. But they want it's like wanting to catch the flowing waters of the Ganges. You can't. Which Ganges you are talking about? By the time you have thought that Ganga is already changed, that water has reached ocean. I am trying to go and catch it in Ganga Sagar in 2 weeks' time. Because I know all the waters come and end there in the ocean. So as long, this is our dilemma, and this is what frustrates us. And we are running after this world, and world is that, the nature of the world is that it cannot be caught. The time cannot be caught, the space cannot be caught, the objects cannot be caught, your age cannot be caught, your health cannot be caught, the joys cannot be caught, your likes cannot be caught. Nothing in this world, anything that has a conditioning, can ever be caught. Because conditioning means it is continuously changing. Then what can be caught? The conscious principle. Why? It is never changing. It is permanent. But we have never made even an iota of effort in order to just peep into ourselves. A little bit of effort to see, okay, let me reassess my life. Okay, let me see what's going on here. What am I running after? What do I really want out of life? Have I been running after, been on a wild goose chase? And as a result, I am now tired, exhausted, getting old, disease coming one after the other. Problems? No, I want to get out of this. Now what is it? Recognize. You are essentially that who is behind the speech. You are that who is behind the seeing, who is behind the taste, who is behind the mind, who is behind the ideas and concepts. And in this way, come to know yourself. And this conscious principle, this witnessing principle, which we sometimes get glimpse of on the seat of meditation, recognize that this witnessing principle alone is the reality. There is no other. And it is not that this witnessing principle, and then she has one witnessing principle, and then she has one witnessing principle, and every 7 billion people have 7 billion witnessing principles. No. There is only one. It's like if you take what do you call, an umbrella, and you make holes in it, and then put a candle behind or a globe in a dark room, what will happen? And that umbrella is not just on one side. Well, make few umbrellas and it covers that light. What will you see?
Lots of little lights.
Lots of little lights. So are there lots of little lights, or there is only one light expressing through lots of little holes? So lots of little holes. One light expressing. Don't stop there. Lots of little holes through which the same light is expressing. Lots of little holes through which the same electricity is expressing. Electricity does not have any attribute. It cannot be seen. The ability which is expressed through the eyes can never reveal the source. Just like electricity ability to express as light, this light can never reveal the electricity. The heater can never reveal the electricity. This camera cannot see it itself. My eyes cannot see themselves. My ears, the ears cannot hear themselves. See, they cannot. It's just not possible. Why? That is how it is. Don't ask why. That is how it is. And that is your experience. Therefore, so here whatever we might express by the pronoun this must be an object known. And what is a known object? Known object is that which can be cognized by the instruments of knowledge, and the instruments of knowledge are the five senses, mind and the intellect. And anything that can be cognized by the five senses, mind and intellect is not the reality. Therefore, if you go after an experience which you can put into words, no, you are going the wrong way. If you are going, I saw the light and I felt this way and I felt that way, wrong. If you can put words to it, it's gone. If you have apprehended something that, I just touched it and came. I think I just touched myself and came. Again, the ego is taking you for a big long ride. Then why, when reality is the consciousness within, then why this idea of that I am an individual, why this idea comes? Anyone? Why this idea that I am separate to everyone comes?
Echo.
Huh?
Echo.
Echo.
Ego.
Ego. Yeah, why ego comes? Is there anything called ego?
Because we get attached to things, isn't it?
When you get attached to things, then the thought is created. Then what is ego?
Illusion of separateness.
Illusion of separateness, yes.
Wrong vision.
Wrong vision, okay.
False identification.
With what?
Well, it doesn't really exist, the ego, does it?
Huh?
It doesn't really exist.
Give me an example.
Through our conditioning, we build up a false identity.
How?
Through memories and experiences.
Okay.
It creates
Yeah.
a false identity.
For this, a beautiful example is given. You come in October, when I come back, we'll have Diwali function, the festival of lights. In that, I buy about 500, 700, I buy a few, and then a lot of people also bring all these sparklers. Now you know which example I'm giving. We bring the sparklers. And what do the children do? Have you ever lighted sparklers? And you take the sparkler, it's one sparkler, and you go, what do you see?
Circle.
You see a circle. But the sparkler is one. But you get and have an illusion of a continuity of light. But light is only expressing at one point, where the sparkler is burning, isn't it? But you move it at such a great speed that there is an illusion of circle, isn't it? And when you stop, even then, just for a tiny minuscule second, it lingers on. Very short moment. But your eyes believe what they see. So they are seeing, and the child is in wonderment. How is that possible? Mummy, circle, mummy, circle.
Are you saying the rapidity of thoughts and feelings and experience and everything, because they're moving so fast, they tend to...
Good conclusion, good conclusion.
But it's the reality behind that seems to give it the reality that it's real.
Yes, it is borrowing from the reality. Without reality, thoughts, emotions, and the five senses cannot function. It's the reality because of which they are functioning. They are alive. But the thoughts are moving at such a great speed, just like that sparkler. If you move it at speed, there is a circle. Another example. If you go to Crown Casino, the crown is there. And many times, I have not been that side for a long time at night, but when I used to work in the city and it had just come up, they used to have different, sometimes the light will go this way, sometimes the light will go this way, sometimes the light will go all together and then come into the center, then from the center it will go outwards. All that designs they used to do. But what is actually happening? Nowadays they have those neon lights and everything, but in the previous times they used to have bulbs, isn't it? And the electricity is passing so fast that the bulbs, at a particular interval, at a great speed, the light is passing through, and that gives you an illusion of moving light, isn't it? Or that light is traveling. And you look.
But really speaking, the lights are kind of going on and off.
Only one light can become on and off at a time, because that's how it is. Similarly, only one thought can appear in your mind at a time. You cannot think two thoughts at a time. Impossible. But the speed is so great that you imagine, oh, I can do multiple tasks at the same time, and you're proud of it. You have fooled yourself. Multitasker. So this illusion that is created by the fast moving thoughts, this is just like with the one sparkler you could see the circle, same way with these fast moving thoughts, a new entity, an imaginary entity is created, a ghost is created, so to speak. And that ghost is called the ego. That ghost is called the individual. And that's you and me at present. If we are not focusing on the reality. If we are not the real. So don't be afraid of the ghost in the jungle. Be afraid of the ghost who's always here when not knowing the truth. So this ego is the ghost. And the moment you look into it, it will vanish. Because the moment you look for it, when you look for its reality, it cannot stand inquiry. It cannot stand observation. The moment you try to observe it, it will become the witness. The ego vanishes, witness remains. Now this has to be experienced on the seat of meditation. And this witness is one without a second. This witness is one, just like consciousness is one, the consciousness divides itself into consciousness and matter. So, I thought and that thought. I thought is one. And that thoughts are many. So I am father, I am brother, I am sister, I am teacher, I am student, I am smart, I am beautiful. But I remain the same. All other adjectives keep changing. All other ways of defining this I, the associations with I, that keeps changing. This I is that illuminator. This I is that one which is giving the light to every inert, everything that is inert. That can be the objects of the world, that can be all the thoughts that appear in the mind. It is illuminating. When you take this I and rather than getting attached, when you say, oh, I am this, I am that, then you have made this I go fast, because I can interact with any object only one at a time. But it is happening such a fast, suddenly you say, oh, I am the boss of my life, I am married, I have got children, I am this, I am that. Ego. But the moment you dissociate and you see the game that is going on, immediately you become the witness. And what Upanishads teach us? That this witness, recognize, this witness itself alone is the Brahman. It is the one which is expressing as the speech through the ears. This witness conscious principle itself is the principle which is expressing as the taste. It's the mind of the mind, it is the taste of the taste, it is the ear of the ear, it is the speech of the speech. And that you are.
I first read that when I was 19, it expressed as that, not that which the ear hears, but by how the ear hears.
No.
That's not it.
How will be the mind?
Would it be the mind?
Then you will go into the instruments.
Yeah.
But don't worry about what happened when you were 19 years old. Right now what is
And
happening?
my understanding was that it was
Huh.
how it
No,
was.
drop that. Past is dead and gone. You are a new person by now. Many times over. Don't go back into don't relive so many years ago. This is the moment where you are, and this is the only real moment you can live. Future you cannot live, past you cannot relive. So why think about the past that, we can, sometimes we revel, we go into the memories and it was so, but what can you do about it? Just now someone told me a fantastic, that Swamiji, you have been saying for two years I am listening to you about that we should think of God, whenever there is problem we should be aware, this, that, but now actually I have experienced it. When I am angry, suddenly I caught myself and that anger did not last. Why? Because, okay, I was angry, the mind was angry, but I started chanting the name of the Lord anyway. And within few minutes, instead of for hours brooding on that thing, within few minutes, the thing changed. Now this practice you have to do again and again and again and again, till it becomes a habit. You catch yourself every time, including now, that the mind is not going into some reverie. It is not going into some imagination. If that is you catch yourself, oh, mind has imagined, because of whom did the mind imagine? Go back to the source. Go back to the source. Again and again come back to the source. And as you keep coming back to the source that you are, and recognize that you are that source, all the cobwebs will start sorting themselves out. So here the teacher says that just as the sun out there is the real sun, and the reflection of the sun in the buckets of water that you have, you see a sun in the bucket of water, but that sun can never be the real sun. It's a reflected sun, isn't it? I gave the example of that umbrella with the light behind. Any light that is appearing through that hole, okay, it is light. And even if you put all the holes and all the lights appearing through all the holes together, they still cannot be equal to the actual light behind. Isn't it? If you put all the equipments and all the light bulbs and all the heaters and fridges and everything you put together, and this is electricity, it is not possible. Similarly, if you put all the gods together also, you cannot come to know the truth. Even if you put all the gods together, then how can you come to know the truth? Recognize the conscious principle within you, because of which these faculties, these instruments of knowledge are functioning, are able to function, are become enlivened, so to speak, is that reality. And you are that. And in this manner, the teacher says, the Upanishad helps the devotee to merge into the very essence of the beloved of his heart. So does it mean that we should not take the name of the Lord? Everyone says you chant the name of the Lord, you chant the name of your goddess, or you chant Om. What does it mean there then? See, these exercises are helpful to make your mind silent, to make your mind single-pointed, to purify your mind. But after having purified the mind, exposure to the Vedantic thought is necessary. What happens when you are exposed to the Vedantic thought? That devotee who was, take Ramakrishna's example, that devotee who was absolutely in love with his with the divine expression of the Lord, say Ram or Krishna or Kali Mata, as a result of Vedanta, he is able to come into union with that. That union, when that union takes place, then Rama doesn't exist and the one who is seeking Rama does not exist. Why? Then both become one. Then the one who is seeking Ram or the one who is seeking the goddess, he does not have a separate identity of its own. As long as the river is seeking the ocean, it is a river. But once it has merged into the ocean, the river loses its individual identity. Even if you search for the waters, oh, this is the river in the ocean, you will not find it. You will find only the ocean, isn't it? Same way, where a devotee, if he is not exposed to these thoughts of Upanishads, he falls short in his sadhana. And a Vedanti, if he is not exposed to the love that a devotee experiences with the various names and forms, he is a dry fellow. He can never experience love in his life. Because then it is only an intellectual appreciation. Intellectual appreciation is not realization. Realization comes where there is love to the goal with the goal that you seek. When you become the embodiment of love, and that is only possible through devotion. But the goal is presented to you by Vedanta. So don't think that taking the name of the Lord and all is wrong, but understand that with this ability to see clearly that this conscious principle is the source of everything, automatically such a person will accept all the religions and all the gods, isn't it? Then he will not say only me and my religion. There is no fanatism then. Why? He understands that I am the source of everything. In that feeling, in that, maintaining that poise, the expansion. And what is Vedanta? That which accepts everything and rejects nothing. That is Vedanta. Then if I become a Hindu, then I am Hindu, I am not a Muslim. I lost the plot. If I am Muslim, I am a Muslim, I am not a Buddhist. I lost the plot. Coming to this conscious self brings about an expansion within ourselves which cannot be compared to anything. Everything comes within its ambit. Why? Because you are expressing through every point. You are that center. With many circumferences. One circumference is you, one circumference here, Louis, one circumference, Joy. Just like you accept yourself to be the body, but you express that this body is hand, this body is fingers, this body is legs, this body is head, this body is nose, this body is feet, this body is toes, this body is knees. But because you are using all these names, you do not feel that you have become disintegrated. You still feel that you are one body, even though you are using different names for different limbs. Similarly, from the conscious, when we come to this witnessing consciousness and allow it to reveal itself as it truly is, that is its infinite nature, then this feeling will come, where your eyes are seeing everything, but the experience is that of I. When seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, thinking, all this is going on, but the attention is on the I. How? I gave the example of that woman who was in love with her beloved. She's doing everything, but the attention is on that fellow. I know that was a big discussion afterwards about it. People lost the plot. So, where is your attention? I gave another example. When you are driving, you are very clear about your destination. You may hear, touch, feel, taste, everything. You are driving, your leg is pressing the accelerator, you are changing the gear, you are looking at the roads, you are looking at, hey, I didn't know this building has come up, you are listening to music, and then you open the window, close the window, you feel the breeze, you smell the beautiful, fresh air. You are involved with everything, and you are looking at the traffic, that nobody should come under my car. But your attention is on the... You don't forget why you have begun the journey, to reach the destination. So when we live this life, in spite of everything, keep your attention on that conscious principle, the witnessing principle. Don't waste your life chasing. You know how it is like running after the world. It's like a child running after his own shadow. I want to catch my shadow. I have also done it. I wanted to challenge this notion that we cannot catch our shadow. And I tried and I got frustrated. And then I went to sleep. The next day again I tried. No, maybe yesterday I was tired. Yesterday again. Because the mind is trying to work things out until you don't get your own experience and come to the conclusion that the shadow cannot be caught. And I have to turn around when the shadow is the closest to me. At noon, where will be the shadow? Right under my feet. And then I have to go down and try to catch. But if I am going down, suddenly again it changes. How foolhardy is this chase after your own shadow? That much foolhardy is running after this world. Cannot be caught. Don't exhaust yourself running after this world. in this manner, this the Atma Prabhava is transmitted to the mind, and in the glory it functions. The same conscious principle, the witnessing principle. What is this witnessing principle? It is Satchidananda Swarup. It is Joy Swarup. It is Paramananda Swarup, infinite bliss. And no thought can appear without this conscious principle. Understand? Isn't it? No thought can appear without this conscious principle. But what it does is, the mind borrows out of association. That association with the self is like an iron ball which is kept in a fire. It takes on the heat and color of the fire and the weight of the iron ball. So it's a hot iron ball now. Same way, this thought takes the joy, the love, the anand from the Atman, the self, and starts thinking that this limited thought is of the nature of Anand. And because it is happening at such a great speed, it starts looking for joy in the finite. It can never. And in this way, the chit, the consciousness that is within us is the only truth, and recognize that on the seat of meditation, and don't consider yourself to be anything else but that. Now, in the fifth verse, Yan manasana manute yena hurmano matam tadeva brahma tvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. What one cannot feel with the mind, but because of which they say that the mind feels, know that alone as Brahman, and not this which people do worship here. What's the time?
It's 5:10.
What time we started?
Just after 4.
Just after 4?
Quarter past.
Quarter past. So there's time. So what one cannot feel with the mind, but because of which they say that the mind feels. Now I have already covered all this in the previous verse. But what do they say? That the avarana, see, avarana is the wheeling power. This wheeling power is, the mind takes on this wheeling power and forgets what is the source which is illuminating it. When we slow down the thoughts on the seat of meditation, we become aware that, hey, there is some other, that I am watching the thoughts. Why, when we are living in the world on a daily basis, we are not able to do that? Why you have to come to a meditation retreat to find that you are the witness? Why?
Because we're not hearing about ourselves.
Fun.
It's fun.
They're on
Good food.
That's the one.
Say that?
That's the one. Food. Yeah.
All the reasons that you are given, they are the wheeling power. They are the one which are keeping you away from yourself.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
They are the ones which are keeping you away from yourself. And from where does this wheeling power come? It is the inability within us to be available to ourselves. So first is non-apprehension, and then comes misapprehension. Non-apprehension means ignorance of our own nature. So what is ignorance of our own nature? I am not accepting myself as that infinite existence, consciousness, unborn, eternal reality. Then what am I accepting myself? I am this teeny meeny who has to sit here for 2 hours giving lecture. They don't even allow me to get up. Poor me. You know? this is, so I have forgotten that I am that infinite, and as a result of that forgetfulness, self-forgetfulness, now I start doing what? I start projecting. Who am I? I am a Swami. Who am I? I am the son of my mother. Who am I? I am the one who is at this moment sitting in in the retreat taking the lecture. We start defining ourselves. But know that the reality cannot be defined. And here we are trying to define ourselves. Watch yourself whenever you meet a new person. You will explain. But all the explanations that you put forth to that person does not define you really. And what you really are, because now you have attended some of the classes, what you really are, you can never put a... And he said, well, who are you? No, people ask me, who are you? I said, no. I mean to say, Swamiji, where do you come from in India? No, where were you born? I'm giving you real examples. Where were you born? In India. Where in India? India. No, I mean to say, Swamiji, I was born in this particular state, in this village. Where were you born? On the planet, man. Where is it? In India, where? And then when I don't answer, then they look at me funnily. Which school did you go to? In a school. Then sometimes very sincerely they will come. Just 2 days ago someone asked, Swamiji, what you used to do before you became Swami? Why? No, I said, why? What? It will change your life in some way or the other. What will happen if you come to know what I used to do? I used to clean toilets. And I used to collect garbage. You don't look like it. Why? You think you are not collecting garbage? You are also collecting garbage. You are also a garbage collector. No. Tell the truth, Swamiji. What did you do? Because I keep dropping. Sometimes those examples come. I was here, I was in Middle East, I was in Switzerland, I was studying this, I was studying that. So sometimes they have connected. Oh, what were you doing there? What were you doing there? I was collecting garbage there. This obsession. And we feel very, very good when we talk about ourselves, And if I give you every one of you a chance, tell me who you are, you will tell me your whole history. Swami Chinmayananji used to say, once he was going in a train, and in the train one person came, and he was first class, he was there, Swamiji could not get away from him. So what do you do? He says, Swamiji, this, and Swamiji was busy. Swamiji, please tell me, do you read hands? No, Swamiji. Now, so many times, Swamiji. So Swamiji says, okay, tell me something about yourself, man. You are only asking questions. I will also ask you. Tell me about yourself. And Swamiji, what I'll tell? You know everything, Swamiji. No, I don't know. You tell me. And this fellow started. My grandfather used to be the chief of the village in this particular way, and he started from his great-grandfather. And he's coming, and 1 hour passed. And Swamiji is taking Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Oh, really? Then what happened? And he's going again another. Once he says what happened, he goes another half an hour without stop. And then again, after half an hour again, he'll say, oh, really? Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. In the mind, Om Namah Shivaya is going. On the face, he's showing that he's very interested. And this fellow is going on and on and on and on. And then, after every half an hour, 45 minutes, really? Oh my God. And this fellow is thinking, oh, Swamiji is interested. And then the story ended. Because 2 days journey, Delhi to Bombay. After 2 days journey. Then the guy came to today. And then what happened? No, Swamiji, I told you the whole story. No, you are not finished. Then what? Then I got into the train. Then what happened? Then I met you. Then what happened? I asked you questions, but you did not answer. Then what happened? Then you asked me a question. Then what happened? I have been speaking for last 2 days. Then? No. Then, yes, in one way, yes. But which destination you are talking about? Then what? When you come to the present moment, there is nothing to talk about. You can only talk about the past. You can create stories of the past is nothing but a story. You can keep talking about it. But when you come to the present moment, there is nothing to talk about. Swamiji, now you are there, I am here. Then what? Nothing. Swamiji? Now stay that way. Because still 2 hours are left. This fellow starts all over again. In the last moment, when everything has been, everything that defined you. See, I did, well, let me complete that. Everything that defines you, when you have exhausted that, and when you come to the present moment, there is nothing, no words can come. What now? There was only a smile. I was in, someone introduced me to Toastmasters. You heard of Toastmasters? You know, you learn how to give public speaking. They are very funny people. Everyone does the same thing. Have you been to Toastmasters? No. If it's your turn, you get up, because everyone is looking for time, because you got 5 minutes and you have to finish 5 minutes and you are in the beginning and you want to assess the situation and impromptu speech. So how do you get time for yourself? You speak. So slowly you will get up, and then you will go around the chair, then you push the chair, then you stand on the chair, then you look this way, and I went, ladies and gentlemen. And you don't do it, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the topic. And no, because he's trying to work out what thoughts he has to present. So the topic was given, speak on integrity. Topic was given, talk about your friend's cat. How can I talk about my friend's cat? It's not my cat. How many words can I speak? Then they said, okay, talk about yourself. The first topic in Toastmasters is always introduce yourself. And you have to use expressions, you have to use they see all those criteria are there. I just read them, I said, okay, I'll try to do. And I got the trophy for that day. The next talks, there are about 14 talks. I went to 3-4 of them, and every time I used to go, I used to get a trophy and come back. So within 1 month, 4 weeks, 4 trophies, they said, oh, you have been selected for the Victorian public speaking thing. I go, for what? I don't know what topic. No, you're good. Whatever topic you get the trophy. So you're qualified. Okay, I went there. And there they gave me the topic cat. And you are sitting in the room outside.
What?
Cat.
CHP.
Yeah. So I was sitting outside in the room. You don't know what the topic is. And the moment you enter, they open the door and you enter, they say cat. And you have to start. So how do you start? Cat. So that's exactly. I said cat. Meow. And then suddenly I remembered, meow in Hindi means I come. So I said once there were 2 cats. One cat said, meow, I come. The other said, ow, come. And the topic began. A love story I told them. Ow. See, the male cat never says meow. Male cat always says, ow, ow. The female cat says, meow, meow. They're very guttural, no? And that's the thought that came to me, and it broke the tension, and I was enjoying my talk. And now I have to remember that I have to speak only for 5 minutes. I can't go too much on Sunday. And again I got the trophy. And he said, what are you made of? You don't come to the classes, you only, every time you come, nobody has ever done 4 talks and got 5 talks and 5 trophies. And I said, okay, enough, I don't need to learn anymore. You see? But there, that day, my observation was that every person who is new, when he is given the first day's topic, talk about yourself, it's a free flow. The 7 minutes that you get to speak about yourself, it seems only 7 minutes. I've got a whole lifetime to speak about. And when we are given some other topic to speak about which we don't have an experience, it becomes a bit difficult. You must have seen that when I gave you all the opportunity to speak. So someone got the book and it is going on. It's okay, you can take the reference, and it was all a learning exercise. But you watch your mind at that time. How are the thoughts flowing easily? Do you have to struggle to find, how do I express now? How do I make it happen? And what will become after this? What example I have to use? And huh? Why this difficulty comes? Because suddenly at that moment when a topic is given, we freeze. In that frozen attitude, in that frozen mind, there is no flow. But when we are told, when we accept ourselves, okay, this whole creation is nothing but me alone. I am the source of this whole creation. Nothing is impossible for me. Live with that attitude. Automatically everything will start flowing. You never out of place anywhere. In a brothel you are in the place. You don't hate that place. In a cow area, in the cow pen you are in place. In a satsang you are in place. With the children you are in place. With the elders you are in place. Everywhere you are comfortable. There is no place where you are not comfortable. Why? Because the whole place is nothing but expression of me. See, some people can't sleep in other people's bed. Have you come across? I don't know about you guys. People cannot. Mahatma, he says, earth is my bed, sky is my duna. Here I go. Here I go. He's comfortable any place, any time, anywhere. He has got no preferences. Why? Because he's continuously abiding in the self. His real home is the self, not the cot, not the chair. Oh no, so we'll tell one Mahatma, Sai Baba, that he's got a broken hip. Oh, you don't have preference for a wheelchair, you start walking now. You sit on that hard chair. That is not right. Huh? There is no attachment to that chair. If it comes to that, he is ready to drop that also. And I have given you enough examples about Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Ramana Maharishi, Ram Sukdas. All these people, they had cancer, but they never identified with the cancer. They said the cancer, some would say the cancer is for the body, it is not for me. Some people say, hey, what are you talking about? My cancer. I am the cancer. Story over. If I am the cancer, then what is there to be afraid of? Because everything is me. That Ramana Maharshi used to say that. So this way, here, what one cannot feel with the mind, but because of which they say that the mind feels, know that alone to be Brahman, and not this and not that which people do worship here and there. And we'll talk more about it in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. Just sit quietly for some time.